guys, thanks for watching Chess Deep Study. Today we are going to talk about one of the checkmate patterns, Anastasia's mate. Anastasia's mate is one of the knight and rook mate pattern. We will talk about basic ideas and how do we get the pieces ready for the pattern. Also, we'll introduce more games examples. First, we are going to talk about the basic idea with the H-file mate. The knight on E7 controls G6 and G8, so the king cannot escape. And you can see easily that there is a one-move mate with rook H1. Even if the king is on H7, mate is still happening, as G6 and G8 is controlled by the knight, as just said. The key components of the patterns are A. A white knight on E7 square. B. A black pawn on G7, so that the king cannot escape from G7. C. A black king on H8 square. This is the H-file. And the next one is not the same as this H-file, but is on the 8th rank. It can always deliver mates when a knight on G5 controls H7, F7, and your rook on A8. See, as the same as the first one, the knight controls F7 and H8, so the king cannot escape, and then use a heavy piece to mate on the back rack. The next example is a real game. This example is easy to understand. You see, the checklist is, can the knight go on E7? Is the black pawn on G7? After the knight check, can the black king go to H8? Yes. So all three on these is all correct. So we can play 97 check. This is not only a check. This opens the diagonal for the sacrifice. Queen takes H7. And then rook H5 to mate. The knight on E7 controls G8 and G6, and the rook mates black. The same as this, though the king's on H7. The next example is how to get ready with the mate. As you already seen in the third example, that the knight needs to go to E7 and your rook on H5. Can your knight get to E7? Yes. Can the king go to H8 or H7? Yes. Can the rook mate? Yes. And the knight can reach the crucial E square from the important square C6, D5, F5, and G6. They all can get to this E7 square. So this is the common launching pad for this mate. But of course, the most safe square and the best square is D5 and F5. So 97 check, king to H8, and then mate rook takes H5. The same thing as the H5 mate. See, this is a very common mate. The next example is not very easy to see. You see that knight cannot get to e7 because it is controlled. But, you see, white move, we know we can easily play bishop takes f6. But he could get some counterplay, and it's not Anastasia's mate. If you can make the bishop takes f6, it doesn't matter. We want to get to Anastasia's mate. But we get the idea of discovering check the king. So you see the knight e7 will still work. If he plays bishop takes e7, then we go bishop f6, discover check. The king only has one square left. King h7, and then we go queen g7 mates. He knows that, and now he cannot, and he don't want to play bishop takes e7. So he plays king h7. Now I see the idea. We need to open the h file, and the rook can get down with mate. The knight controlling g6 and g8, we can easily conduct mate. Can we open the file? Yes, we can play queen g6. The g6 square is where the h file protects, and the king cannot move anywhere. So you need to play pawn take, knight take, or queen take. Either of these takes will lead to h takes g5 with an open this file. Let's say he plays f takes g6. Then we go h takes g6, checking the king. But then you say, wait, he can take the bishop. So is that not mate? No. He can play rook h7, still mate. The knight protects g6 and g8, and the rook on the h file mates. But only the pawns protecting that's the only difference. But it's still a h file mate. The next example, you see that the king is not very safe. The h3 knight controls f2 and g1. Only fly square for him is to take the knight or back to f1. So how can we control f1 with something? You can see the only thing left is knight e3. Knight e3 controls f1, g2, and the h3 knight controls g1 and f2. As you can see, there's only one way to play against this move is take. Now you see the knight is controlling g2 and g5. I mean g4. So he cannot go there. Now we just need to get a higher piece on this h file so we can mate. So easily we play rook h8. And this is another example when e7 is not ready, when we cannot get to e7. But the rook is protecting e7, so can we get the rook out of the way so we can play knight e7 check? Did you notice? If we cannot take my rook and then play rook h8, that will be mate. Then we go back up mate. And if the rook was somewhere else, let's say f8, then we can play knight e7 with mate, because this rook is protecting this file. With all these details, you can see that queen f8 must be the best move. If king takes f8, the knight on f5 controls e7 and g7, so we can play rook h8. A hand piece on the 8th rank to conduct mate. But if he plays rook takes, as I already said, if he plays rook takes, the e7 square will be free, and the rook is controlling this rank. So he play knight e7, mating. Right. The other one is a very easy and full example. You can see that the rook is going to a1, which mate. We'll learn this afterwards. This is called the Anderson's mate. But we need to have a check to prevent this, because we cannot protect him from doing that. Bishop a2, you will think, no, he can play this rook f to b8. Now that forces you to b3 and then mate. So you see, there must be a check somewhere. We have knight g6, I just see here. And we have rook takes h7 here. But rook takes h7 doesn't work. You think that king takes rook, then rook h1, we could get something. I mean, like this. Because you see, this is pin, we can knight g6, trying to go rook to h8 mate. But no, he can play rook a1, and that's mate. So this move is not a check, so you can play rook a1. So the last check is knight g6 check, which must work. He cannot play h takes g6, but he need to play f takes g6 or king g8. But if f takes g6, then we can play rook takes h7. After king takes 7, rook h1 is made. The bishop controls g8, so the king cannot get here, and the rook in h1 is a hand piece which conducts mate. This is called the Greco's mate, which we will learn afterwards. So you cannot play f takes g6. Then you can play king g8. Then what? You can see that Anastasia's mate is knight e7. So we get here. The only way of him is to go to h8. The g7 pawn is still there, so he cannot run. That means we can play rook to h7, king to h7, and rook h1. Mates. And you see in this example, the knight controls g6 and h8, and the rook on h5 conducts mate, and the very rook a1 cannot work. We need to spot the checks when we are in a very, very dangerous position. And if you can get out some things like these, we can. When you are in a very dangerous position, you can see those checks, and hopefully you can make like this. This is very classical example for black, and he must do something to checkmate one, as you see. The knight can't get to e2. The queen's protecting e2, but you have more protection on it. But knight e2, if king h1, then what? We need to open this h5. When you want to get the pawn out of the way, you need to think of something. Just not taking the pawn could get out of the way. You can see where it protects, and then you can take that, which really force it to take back. Now the h5 is open. First, you can see the rook on h4 will mate. Rook h5 cannot work because the pawn is protecting it, but then this file will be open to conduct mate. And this is a very easy example. But he has ways to play against it. He can play queen e2, sacks queen, but then we are up lots of pieces and win. He can play something like f3, not taking the queen, but that still does not work. Because of course, we have lots of ways to attack him and ready to win the game, like knight g3 or things like that. The last example is easy, you understand. You can see the king is already very dangerous. Only this square and this square is only square. If the rook on back rank could control g1, then he cannot really do anything to get there. So he need to go here. And another e3 could easily protect him. So that will easily conduct queen f1. Now he will play rook takes is forced. Then rook takes, only square left is g1, g2. Then we'll put the knight on e3, which protects the rook and tracking the king. Of course, protecting the knight as well. And white will take. The only square left is here. Now knight on g5, g4 controls h2. And the knight protects f1 and the rook controls the back rank squares. So you need to play king h3 and rook h1. Notice the knight on e3 protects g2 and g4, and this rook on this rank, the h rank, would really mate white. Hope you will like it, and do subscribe Chess Deep Study. Thanks.